The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Pot Talk, everybody. I'm Jim.
And I'm Paul. And what are we going to... Oh, I know what we needed to talk about. Well, mention anyways. John Glenn died today.
Yeah, that's right. True American hero he was.
Yes. Yep. He was a Marine.
You know what changed everything and what made him? Pearl Harbor. That's what made him join the service.
Okay. He put him on the path to where he ended up.
He was 20 years old when he had his pilot's license before he joined. So when Pearl Harbor happened, he joined an instant pilot.
Right, because he already had his pilot's license. Yeah. But he still had to go to officer training school, I believe.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Because you got to be an officer to fly. You can't be an enlisted man.
I'm not sure if he went to West Point or not.
I don't know, but I know he was a Marine.
I'm sure he went to a military camp. No, I don't know.
He had to go to officer training school. But anyways, he was a Marine. He was an astronaut. He was a senator.
Yeah. And
all around great American.
He went back for a second flight around the Earth. And he was 77 years old when that happened. That was 18 years ago.
Yeah. He was born in, I think, 1921.
21, exactly.
Wow. My parents were old, and they were born in the 30s.
I got sisters that were born in the 30s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, my parents were born in the early 30s, Jim. So we just put it that way.
My mother and father got married in 31.
Well, that was before my parents were born?
Yeah, I think they had the first kid at 32, and
Jesus.
Every other year after that, had a kid.
Man, I thought I came from an old family, but Jesus.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I got cousins that are in their, late 60s, early. Man, I don't know if any are in their 70s yet, but closing in.
Right.
And that's nothing personal. That's old to me. I mean, obviously. 10 years older or whatever, when you get to this age, is older.
My father's brother had 14 kids, and they were all older than me, so they're all dying off. You know what I mean? These are my cousins.
What the fuck was your family reunion
I don't
like?
It was, we had to rent the park, actually.
Holy
That's the way it was.
Because you figure you were, what, how many in your family?
14.
And how many in your brothers? I mean, your father's brothers?
14.
Holy shit.
And they came from a family of 14.
Oh, my Christ. What is it with you people? Have you people no self-control? The fuck?
And here I am with one kid. It was an accident.
First of all, what I'm wondering is, after like the fourth or fifth kid, how do you even have more kids? How do you even have enough privacy to have sex to have more kids?
Exactly.
You would have to have a fucking mansion. Your own wing. You kids live down there.
Well, like I said, they rented an apartment where the Puerto Ricans now live. This is before they moved in. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
This was poor Italians in Woburn Center. And the only reason why they got a house is one of my sisters was crossing the street and somebody hit her with a car.
Oh, shit.
So they sued or whatever they got.
So they got the money and put that to a house.
They put it towards it.
Well, do you know what? If you look, I'm not a sue guy, but if you're going to, at least they did the right thing with the money.
Right.
They bought a house for their children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They paid $13,000 for the house.
Really? My parents paid $9,000.
It was a 3-bedroom. It's the size of a cottage.
Ours was a 2-bedroom. We turned it into a 4, but it was originally a 2-bedroom bungalow. Wasn't even insulated. It wasn't even meant. It was listed as a cottage. So the day they tore it down,
right?
And they paid $9,000 for it on its own fucking dead end private road in North Reading.
Yeah.
My mother fucking seen it. My father built a house in Wilmington. It was in one of them postage stamp neighborhoods. All the houses look the same and shit.
Right.
My mother was like, no. He's like, I bought the fucking house. She's like, I can't live here. He goes, I lived in the city my whole life. She goes, I wanted to get married and move to the country. So my father sold the house and found a house in North Reading. As soon as she seen it, she was like, that's what I want. He's like, there's nobody around. She's like, that's exactly what I want.
Fed up of the city.
Yeah, she grew up in Somerville.
In the city.
And she lived in Woburn for a while when she was a child, too. Woburn and Somerville, but mostly Somerville. And my father grew up in Cambridge.
All right, enough personal stuff.
Well, I'm just saying.
We got a clip for you here. It's 8.5 minutes long. About Russian hacking. Carlson Tucker grabs Adam Schiff. He's a congressman from California, liberal. He's on the House Intelligence Committee.
Oh, that's great.
Well, it's run by Republicans, but they have to put Democrats.
Right, they have to put some.
Him and Elijah Cummings are on the same thing.
Oh,
with
Jesus
Trey,
Christ,
Gowdy,
he's a fucking
Chapin.
genius.
So he's a loony left.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'll just
let the clip speak for itself, Jimmy.
That's it. It's just about Russian hacking.
So what's next? Tonight we're asking what's next for the effort to delegitimize the presidential election. Some in Congress are demanding that President Obama brief them on Russian interference with the election. They say that, quote, the Russians, quote, hacked our democracy, and they're mad about it. Joining us now is one of the members who signed that letter, House Intelligence Committee ranking member Adam Schiff of Burbank, California. Congressman, thanks a lot for joining us.
Good to be with you.
So one of the complaints in this letter, which is pretty interesting, is that Russia, and I'm quoting now, hacked our political institutions by, among other things, giving us access to John Podesta's emails in WikiLeaks. Now, I'm against hacking people's personal emails, for sure. I think it's a problem. But no one contests that those emails were real and the information in them was true, and voters got to see that, and it helped them assess how they wanted to vote. Why is that bad? Are you really arguing against more information for voters?
And are you really arguing in favor of a foreign adversarial party hacking into the American...
No, I'm explicitly not. I'm just saying that once information comes into the public view, then why is that bad?
Then if we're in agreement that we shouldn't tolerate foreign countries interfering in our election, hacking and dumping of information, then we shouldn't condone it in any way. Now, are you saying that that we're going to look the other way and we're going to ignore Russian interference because they brought to light facts that were helpful to one candidate or hurtful to the other or of public interest? The voters had a chance to evaluate that. They made their decision. But if we're going to protect ourselves from further Russian meddling in the future, we're going to have to call them out on it. We're going to have to inform the American people about it. And Donald Trump may have been the beneficiary, and I think he certainly was, of the Russian meddling this time. But when President-elect Trump has to cross Putin, as invariably he will, because Putin is not our friend. The president-elect may think Putin is our friend, but he's not. Then he may be the subject of the same interference.
I get it. Nobody's for hacking. Let me just make one clear point. You don't know that Vladimir Putin was behind those hacks.
Well, we do know this. And
but you don't know that, so let's not pretend that you do.
Well, let's not ignore what the Secretary of Homeland Security and the Director of National Intelligence said publicly, which is that these hacks were of such seriousness they could not have taken place without the approval at the highest levels of the Kremlin.
That's speculation, and we've seen a lot. Well, it is speculation.
It is not speculation. You can only say speculation.
It's a statement of fact.
It is a statement of the intelligence community's best assessment,
okay.
and
but
you can quarrel with that because there's a political reason to do it, but this is what the intelligence professionals are saying.
Well, they've told us a lot. You know, I've lived
seriously.
here a long time. I remember vividly the massive stockpiles of WMD in Iraq, which the intelligence community assured us were there, and they weren't. So, pardon me for my skepticism. I think it's a patriotic position. But let me just say this: we know.
Tucker, let me just say this: you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take
I've been following, but here's what I don't get. There's been a lot of hacking.
The Republican members of the Intelligence Committee.
But here we've had hacking
think this is in dispute.
of the Pentagon, the White House, the State Department. The CIA director's personal email was hacked. We think in some cases by Russia. I don't remember you holding a press conference and saying, hey, Obama administration, your cybersecurity is pathetic. In this letter to the president, you don't mention the fact that American cybersecurity is inadequate, that the administration is partly responsible for allowing these hacks to happen. Why don't you mention that?
You haven't been watching the opening hearings. I don't think you have, because if you had, you would see me pressing the administration on the failures to protect our data, like the OPM hack, taking issue with the level of our cyber protection, which is wholly inadequate, You wouldn't see the statements I made in connection with the intelligence authorization.
Then why not mention it in this letter?
Because this letter was about Russian meddling. And if you don't think that's significant, that a power that is an adversary of ours, that's bombing civilians in Syria right now, that's invading its neighbors, is also interfering in our political processes as well as our allies.
But
if you don't think that's serious, it's hard for me to imagine you were in the same party as Ronald Reagan.
I'm confused by what you're alleging. So you're saying that you believe the Russian government hacked John Podesta's emails and that voters knew too much, okay? Then you're saying what? That they hacked voting machines?
I'm not saying the voters knew too much.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
If the Russians hack into your emails and disclose...
Which I'm against, by the way.
And I'm against, too. But if they did that and disclosed things of public interest, I wouldn't seek to justify it.
But I'm not justifying it.
I would still want to condemn the Russians and protect us.
I'm going to keep you here until you answer this question, which is, how specifically did the Russians make this election outcome different from what it would have been otherwise? How specifically did they, quote, hack our democracy?
We will never know, whether this was determinative any more than Director Comey's involvement in the election. The means they used were hacking into democratic institutions and the leaking of documents designed in the primary process to sow division between the Clinton and Sanders camps, something we saw actually took place as a result of that. And then in the general election to attempt to discredit Secretary of State Clinton in a way that would harm her and would help Donald Trump.
How did they do that?
Well, it was pretty obvious, wasn't it? They released documents that were
real.
Oh, yes, they were real, and they were ones that were damaging to Secretary Clinton. Can you point to documents that they disclosed that were damaging to the Republican Party?
Let's just get to the bottom line. You're upset because you think this affected the election. I get why you're upset. But are you arguing that voters, and other reasons too, but are you arguing that voters should not have seen that information?
This is an important point, though. It's not just the fact that it damaged the candidate I was supporting. All Americans, Democrats and Republicans, and particularly, of the party of Reagan, ought to be concerned when we have Russia interfering in our political affairs.
But are you arguing that voters should not have had the right to see that information? If you could take it back, would you say voters, you're not allowed to see that information?
Well, I would say that we ought to stop Russia from doing this. Now, whether the press should publish the information or not...
Do you think they should?
That is a different question. I think that there are some cases where the public interest is so great they should publish. But I also think, and this was an issue I took with the press during the campaign, that when they do publish information that the Russians have hacked and the Russians want us to see, they ought to inform the public of the provenance of those emails.
But they don't know it, and neither do you.
Oh,
you don't know that. You don't know that the government. I think it's really irresponsible for you to say you know that the Putin government did this.
It is irresponsible, Tucker, for you to make that claim without looking at the evidence. And more importantly,
you can't say that you know the Putin government did that.
More importantly, for the president-elect today, to say that he doesn't know whether the Russians... You're on
the Intel Committee. Let me just ask you one final question. Can you look right into the camera and say, I know for a fact the government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of John Podesta's email?
Absolutely. The government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of our institution and the dumping of information.
Of John Podesta's email.
Not only in the United States, but also in Europe.
Okay, you're not. You know what? You're dodging.
And Tucker,
look and say, I know they did. John Podesta's emails. They hacked those.
And I think that Ronald Reagan will be rolling over his grave. You're carrying water for the Kremlin.
I'm not carrying water for the. You're a sitting member of Congress on the Intel Committee, and you can't say they hacked.
You're gonna have to move your show to RT Russian television because
you know what?
This
That's
is perfect.
Just so
this is
beneath your office because it's so dumb and you're being duplicitous. I'm asking you, did they hack Podesta's emails? And you can't say it.
Like that, Tucker.
You just said I was carrying. You said I was carrying water for Putin. That's pretty hilarious.
When you essentially are an apologist for the Kremlin, that's what you're doing.
I'm going to one last time, Congressman. Look into the camera and say they hacked John Podesta's emails. We know for a fact that Putin's government did that. You can't, and you know you can't, and you're hiding behind weasel words.
I just said that the
they hacked John Podesta's emails.
Russians. I'm not going to be specific as.
Because you don't know it. That's why. All right, done. One. You don't know it, and you're alleging it without any evidence. And
you're ignoring the evidence because you don't care. The fact that it helped the Republican candidate is all you need to know.
That's totally false. I just think if you're going to make a serious allegation about an actual country with an actual government, you ought to know what you're talking about, and you don't.
I think that you ought to accept.
I got to go. I'm
what
taking
both
cash from
Democrats
Putin now. I'm on
and
RT.
Republicans on the Intelligence Committee have seen for a fact.
If you could say it, you would, and you can't, and you know that.
If you're willing to be in denial about this because it suits a Republican-elect president,
okay, whatever. You can blather on all you want, man, but I gave you a chance to state it clearly, and you wouldn't, which tells you everything you know. All right,
or a president-elect.
Okay.
Not very much, apparently.
I appreciate that, Congressman. And now I need to take a call from Vladimir Putin, so I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second, do this tease. Some of the electors who will pick the president in 2 weeks are receiving death threats and demands they choose someone other than Trump.
All right, Adam Schiff, your congressman.
Just put the mic back on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why would I be talking?
I don't know. I was just curious. I didn't see you hit the button.
Pretend we played Back in the USSR by the Beatles. We thought about it while we were listening to it, but couldn't get it up quick enough.
You know what? That's why I love Carlson. I love the guy because he pins people down. He don't care.
I'll ask the question again.
And he doesn't care about your ideology. He don't.
Well, he kept saying Russian hacking. He was positive. Well, we got that the best assessment. That's what he could come up with.
Right.
Was a Russia.
But that won't stand up in court. A best assessment.
And they says, well, they say the only way they could have hacked that is if they got the Kremlin's permission. And he goes, that's speculation. He goes, that ain't fact. No, it's fact.
Yeah, and he's so concerned about the information. He's not really concerned about the fact that Russia hacked us. He may say that. What he's concerned about is what the information Russia put out. Right. If Russia did it.
Right. I imagine they hacked everybody and they got nothing in their emails. Clinton is guilty and corrupt as they come. All right? It had to be in the emails.
I'm willing to bet Russia did it. All right? Why wouldn't they? That's what they do.
I think somebody was trying to show off and probably gave it to Russia. See what I can do?
Nah, it was the Russians. The Russians.
No, they said it was from Poland or Slovenia or something. Wasn't even in Russia.
That doesn't matter. That's just an IP address.
Right, but they're saying no. That's where they traced it back to.
Right, but
they're saying that they're Russian, sympathizers or whatever.
You got to remember, Jimmy. We hack Israel. Israel hacks us. Britain hacks us. We all spy on each other. It's not the fact that he's pissed that we got spied on. He's pissed because it hurt his candidate. He didn't want the information released. He didn't give a fuck that Clinton had an unsecured server and the Russians could hack it easily.
She made it possible.
Yeah.
She's the one that wrote the emails. Her fucking corrupt staff gave her away. They basically threw her under the bus.
Let's put it this way, right? The tables had been turned, right? And Russia was hacking.
Trump.
Yeah. He would have said, well, the American people have a right to know what Trump was up to. We don't like the source it came from.
Right.
But the American people had a right to know. But it hurt his side. So the American people don't have a right to know because of the source it came from.
Right. You know what he told the truth is what he did. He didn't fucking interfere with the elections. He put out facts.
Facts. Yep.
That's all he did.
Yep.
And that's all he did. Like I'm saying, Putin did it. He did.
We don't know.
But neither does he, and he's the one that's in the House Intelligence Committee.
That's right. He doesn't know either. And
right, and that's why
in the camera and
that's why Carlson pushed it, because he's supposed to be ahead of the intelligence.
Yeah. Well, he's on the fucking committee anyways.
Right.
He might not be the head of it, but he's on the fucking committee. The information is being readily shared.
If memory corrects me, I think it's Darrell Issa, the chairman.
Yes, it is. And
another one from California, is he?
I'm not sure where he's from.
I think Issa is from California.
I like the guy because he's very matter of fact. And you can get him mad. He looks like that kind of guy who could never get mad. But he can get mad, and I've seen him get mad. And when he gets mad, he gets very condescending, and I love it. But anyways, just to go back to the subject we were talking about, Carlson really, he does a fantastic job at what he does. I would not want to argue with that man. That would be a fucking
Cavuto can be sneaky too.
Cavuto's wicked smart. He's 2 steps ahead of you, just like Carlson is.
Well, he had the college girl there.
Yeah.
What are you, high?
Yeah. He's a smart guy. And he's a numbers person, too. He can give you numbers. Lou Dobbs, another one. I think Lou Dobbs is the father of that, if you actually ask me. Lou Dobbs was always the guy that came back at you with numbers and facts and undisputable. And you'd see people fucking... That was one of the only good shows on CNN, was Lou Dobbs. Because it didn't matter who he had on. He just spoke numbers and stuff, and you just watch people crumble before him. And he did it nice. Because he looks like a nice old guy, you know what I mean?
Of course he is.
And then he just devastates you. And you're like, oh, I want to fucking slap you, old man. Or slap them wrinkles right off your face. Because you've been gotten to. And he knows it, just like Carlson. Tucker knows when he's got you.
Right.
He hears your voice elevate. And he sees the body language and stuff. And he knows he's got you. And he just keeps drilling it. And he stays on point. He does it very well. I wish I had that kind of talent. I really do. So we've got another clip, Jimmy, don't we?
Yes, we do. This one is our favorite, Trey Gowdy.
Why don't we go to commercial? It's 8:30.
It's 8:20.
Oh, it's 8:20? Oh,
Get your
put my
glasses
fucking
on.
glasses on. Sorry.
And this is only 5.5 minutes. So.
All right, so great.
Trey Gowdy got up in front of Congress, talking to the Speaker of the House, and this is what he had to say.
Mr. Speaker, I'll withdraw my point of order and rise in opposition to the motion to recommit.
The reservation is withdrawn, and the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to talk for just a moment as colleagues, not as Republicans or Democrats, not as members of the majority or the minority, but colleagues who are blessed to serve in the United States House of Representatives, the People's House, with all the tradition, with all the history, with all the laws that have been passed, with all the lives that have been impacted. I want us to talk as colleagues because our foundational document gave us, as the House, unique powers and responsibilities. We run every 2 years because they intended for us to be closest to the people. The president was given different duties and powers. The president was given the duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. So my question, Mr. Speaker, is what does that mean to you? That the laws be faithfully executed. We know the president can veto a bill for any reason or no reason. We know the president can refuse to defend the constitutionality of a statute, even one that he signs into law. We know the president can issue pardons for violations of the very laws that we pass. And we know that the president has prosecutorial discretion as evidenced and used through his U.S. attorneys. Mr. Speaker, that is a lot of power. What are we to do when that amount of power is not enough? What are we to do when this president or any president decides to selectively enforce a portion of a law and ignore other portions of that law? What do we do, Mr. Speaker, regardless of motivation, when a president nullifies our vote by failing to faithfully execute the law? How do we explain waivers and exemptions and delays in a bill passed by Congress and affirmed by the United States Supreme Court? How do we explain away a refusal to enforce mandatory minimums that were passed by Congress and affirmed by the Supreme Court? And why pursue, Mr. Speaker, immigration reform if presidents can turn off the very provisions that we pass? You know, in the oath that brand new citizens take, it contains 6 different references to the law. If it's good enough for us to ask brand new citizens to affirm their devotion to the law, is it too much to ask that the president do the same? If a president can change some laws, can he change all laws? Can he change election laws? Can he change discrimination laws? Are there any laws under your theory that he actually has to enforce? What is our recourse, Mr. Speaker? What is our remedy? Some would argue the framers gave us the power of the purse and the power of impeachment, but Mr. Speaker, those are punishments. Those are not remedies. What is the remedy if we want the executive to enforce our work? This bill simply gives us standing when our votes are nullified. This bill allows us to petition the judicial branch for an order requiring the executive branch to faithfully execute the law. Mr. Speaker, we are not held in high public esteem right now. Maybe members of Congress would be respected more if we respected ourselves enough to require that when we pass something, it be treated as law. Maybe we would be more respected if we had a firmly rooted expectation that when we pass something as law, it be treated as law. Maybe we would be more respected if we put down party labels and a desire to keep or retain or acquire gavels and picked up the history, the tradition, and the honor of this, the people's house. Mr. Speaker, the House of Representatives does not exist to pass suggestions. We do not exist to pass ideas. We make law. And while you are free to stand and clap when any president comes into this hallowed chamber and promises to do it with or without you, I will never stand and clap when any president, no matter whether he's your party or mine, promises to make us a constitutional anomaly and an afterthought. We make law.
Hear, hear.
Expired.
A true statesman. He really is a statesman from the old days.
He's eloquent. Very, like Obama was when he first came in. Eloquent, clean, very clean.
Yes, yes. I like the fact that when he talks about Congress, he talks about it as the people's house. We are employed by the people. You know what I mean? And he means it.
That's why you got to run every 2 years.
Right, to be closer to the people. It's a great philosophy. The Founding Fathers never expected career politicians. They just didn't. They never thought somebody would do that for the rest of their life.
Oh, you mean career? I thought you said rare.
No, career politicians. They figured that it would be something you did for a short period of time and then went back to your regular life.
You're right. You got your satisfaction. You served your time. It's almost like doing the service.
Well, I mean, if you look at Washington, D.C.
That's the way it should be. But now it's so corrupt that everybody's dying to get in so they can get their money on them.
So they can get their fucking snout in the trough.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. Every time
Trump wants to upset the apple cart.
Yes! Yes! He wants to fucking get the pigs out of the trough.
Right. Stop feeding them.
Whenever there's a fucking a federal project, like the Big Dig or whatever, right? The first thing every politician does is try to sell it to their constituents. Oh, this will be good for you economically, right?
Oh, yeah. Like they did the one in Boston.
Yeah. And it always ends up a horror show. And the only people that benefit from it are the politicians and the well-connected fucking businesses.
Everybody got rich except for the people got their tolls higher to pay it off.
Do you know who really got fucked by the Big Dig? Somebody that lives in Arizona.
Yeah, I know.
Because they had to pay for it.
Right.
And they're never going to drive to it. Well, they may, but I mean, most likely they're not going to drive to it. Why should they be paying for it? If the state of Massachusetts can't pay for it themselves, fuck it. Then don't do it.
O'Reilly was on last night. He was saying the city of New York owes $100 billion because of everybody that's on welfare assistance, the illegals and whatever. $100 billion. They have no way of paying that back. And he's telling the guys talking to Texas, is it you're going to be paying it back?
Yeah. California, in pensions alone, that they can't pay is like $600 billion. It may be more. I don't know. But it's at least.
But they start a system that they know that's going to fail.
But that's just in pensions, Jimmy.
Right? They should not have. What do you call it? They shouldn't be paying the pensions. It was unsustainable from the beginning. It's a null and void contract because of it. They had no way to sustain it.
Greece needed to be totally bailed out, right? That's
not the way to do it.
No.
But I mean, did it change Greece?
No,
of course not.
But I'm saying, just to give you the numbers, right? For Greece to be totally bailed out, to be put back on track, to be A-OK, right?
Until the next time.
Right, it would have been like $300 billion, all right? California is at least $600 billion in debt just on fucking pensions for fucking public employees.
That's just retarded.
That's just that, Jim. Not to mention everything else that they can't afford to pay for. And everyone just thinks everything's okay. We'll worry about it tomorrow. Guess what? There's like not a lot of tomorrows left until the bill comes due.
Right.
People are retiring. And guess what? The money ain't there. It's not there. Chicago, they're like, I don't know.
And he's biting the hand that feeds him, and he's, we're not going to let you take our citizens. They're not citizens, and they're not immigrants. They're aliens.
Detroit is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not multiple billions, in debt, just in pensions, that they can never, ever, ever pay back.
Right. They're trying to get it from the government, so they want us to pay for it.
If you fixed Detroit, if you fixed Detroit,
we're going to go to a commercial.
I'm sorry. I want to come back to this because it's really important that people understand the financial fucking mess we're in. So run the commercials.
Are you hangry? Know the signs. Uncontrollable yelling.
Why aren't you egg rolls?
Hallucination.
Sushi.
Pants discomfort.
I hate you, pants.
Hangry. It can happen to anyone. Fortunately, there's E24, the app that tells hunger to shut up.
Egg rolls. Thanks, Snoop.
E24. In my medical opinion, it's the best way to order food online, baby.
Hey there, all you creepy people. This is Kevin Wayne from Portland, Oregon. You're listening to Armed Radio, home of the big guns.
Hey, Dan. How's the day going so far?
My day couldn't be better. You pull up less than 3 minutes after I open my Lyft app, and how do you greet me? With a kind hello? Just delightful.
Great. Care for a cookie?
A cookie? A chocolate chip cookie? You know, I'd love one.
Sure.
Hey, let me ask you something. How did you know I love this song?
I mean, come on, it's the Cold War kids. Everybody loves them.
Whoa! Who taught this guy how to merge? That was a fantastic merge!
Couldn't agree more.
That's it? That's all this costs? What's this thing running on? Smiles and high fives? You son of Mike. I love you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Lyft. Driving you happy. Just download and go.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Where were we? Detroit?
Well, I just wanted to mention the fact that Detroit is the epitome of what happens to a shining fucking example of capitalism when Democrats get a hold of it.
Right. Made in the hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's been at
Same
least
thing
50
with
years
California. They used to be a prosperous fucking state.
And it's just so overregulated.
But no, it just got overrun by Mexicans.
And,
you know
that too.
The majority of the state is Spanish.
Yeah. And a decent part of that is illegal.
Right. Majority
and
of
you
that
have
is
to pay for that. People don't understand. They go, well, it's really not that expensive because they pay taxes too.
One college puke said that they fucking they actually contribute to society.
Of course they don't. How could they? What's it cost to rate?
They don't pay taxes because they're under the table.
They put their kids in school. That costs money. They put their kids get health care. Obviously, they get housing. They get food stamps.
Right.
That gets pretty expensive. When you figure that, we're
getting... 1 million fucking families have been over the border in the last 2 years.
You figure it's getting at the tipping point where there's actually more people on government assistance than there is actually working.
That's paying for it.
Yeah. And the only thing that keeps that floating, and this is another Democratic failure, is a massively high corporate tax.
Right. That's what we're getting rid of.
Right. But that's their...
we're going to get rid of illegals on assistance. All right?
Right.
That's going to save billions.
Well, if you take 20% off the corporate tax, you're going to have to make cuts somewhere.
Right.
Because that's a huge...
Well, taking them fucking illegals off, I don't give a shit if they're families and they're not. They knew when they stepped over that line, there's a possibility they're going to get thrown out. All right, yeah, so this bullshit, don't split up families. They did it to themselves. And especially if the kid goes to school, your kid don't get a good education because of it. It's just bullshit.
Well, the teachers are always complaining about that classrooms, there's too many kids in the classroom, right?
But illegals are getting the housing, all right? Free housing, all right, and you got homeless.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, teachers are always complaining that there's too many kids in the classroom, right? Take the illegals out of a lot of these classrooms, and it goes.
Well, they're going to dumb down the classroom so that the illegals will pass.
Right, but
which is hurting a white person's kid education. Now he's as smart as the Spanish.
If you took if you took all the illegal children out of the school system, right? Just say on a national average, it's 25 kids in a class, right? If you took all the illegals out of the system, it would be,
15, 20 people.
It would be substantially less. In some neighborhoods, it wouldn't be affected at all. But in the bad neighborhoods where these schools need the money the most,
because of the illegals.
If you took them out of the picture, there'd be plenty of money for the black children.
That's what Donald Trump's going to make up the money.
The black children and the Hispanic children and all the other minority children that are here legally.
See, he's got to get
a good education.
You know what he's going to do after the criminals are out? He's going to go after the ones that, just fucking slipped my mind. Son of a bitch.
What he should do is just, if you get caught doing something and you're not here legally, you get deported.
Well, that's
regardless of
criminals.
Status.
That's just criminals. I think for anything.
If you get caught.
Other than a traffic ticket, unless it's high rate of speed.
No. If you get caught for a traffic ticket and you're here illegally,
I think you should be deported.
Gone.
Absolutely. Yeah. No fucking if, as well, it's not a felony.
It doesn't matter. Crossing illegally crossing into a nation
is a felony.
Yes.
All right? It's a felony.
You're crossing a national border.
You're lucky you don't get shot.
All right. Let me put this into perspective to you real quickly, and I'll do it in 2 seconds. All right, you buy a bag of weed in one state, right? And you drive to the other state where you live. You're going home, right? You get caught crossing the state line. You're a felon. Even though buying the weed wasn't a felony, possessing the weed is not a felony, but because you cross state lines, it's a felony.
This is the law going swinging the pendulum the other way. There's no need for it. All right, I can see crossing state lines for, kidnapping.
Right, if you're kidnapping or
bank robbery, federal buildings.
So you can get the FBI into it.
Right, but every time somebody crosses a state line, it's the FBI's involved.
Yeah.
All right, like I said, every time.
It's like fireworks or something,
And even if they don't even know if it crossed the state lines, we could have crossed the state lines. We're checking it out.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But if you cross a national border, not a state line, not in the United States, right? You cross a federal border, you get federal housing, you get federal food stamps, you get to use the public school system. It's ridiculous. The healthcare system, you get zero. Well, what are we supposed to do? Leave them on the streets and let them die? Yes. Yes. That's what you do. Because if you do that, they'll know there's no advantage to being here, and they won't be here. And then our economy gets strong again. And then we can take in legal immigrants that are well-educated and are going to help the economy and the American way of life and assimilate. Not oppose the law from the second you showed up here by crossing in illegally.
Right, they have a waiting list. I think anybody that they find out that's illegal, using false identification, that's a felony. All right.
It actually, and it is, I believe.
All right, so that should be grounds enough. Get the hell out.
Oh, yeah.
That's fraud.
Yeah, and any property you own stays here to pay restitution to the persons whose identities have been stolen.
Exactly.
Well, I own a house here. No. Steve owns a house here because you stole his identity. He owns a house here now. You get to go across the border.
We're going to drop immigration for a while. We're going to go into the IRS. Christine Engelbrecht. I believe she works for the IRS. That's all you got to need to know, and I'm not sure who's interviewing. It could be Gowdy.
Oh, please let it be.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Catherine Engelbrecht, and I'm the chairwoman of True the Vote, a nonprofit election integrity organization, the founder of King Street Patriots, a citizen-led liberty group, and president of Engelbrecht Manufacturing. Thank you for this opportunity to share my story with you today, though at the outset, it must be said that it is a story with a central theme that is shared by countless thousands of other Americans who have not yet been heard from, though I pray that they will be. It must be made publicly known that across this country, citizens just like me are being targeted by an administration willing to take any action necessary to silence opposition. I am an average American who, prior to 2009, had never been active in the processes of government. But after volunteering to work in the polls in Texas in the 2009 elections, I saw fundamental procedural problems that I felt couldn't go unaddressed. So I started True the Vote, an organization that grew into a national movement to ensure that every American voter has an opportunity to participate in elections that are free and fair. My life before I got involved and spoke out for good government stands in stark contrast to the life I now lead. As a wife, a mother, a small businesswoman working with my husband, raising our children and participating in my church and PTA. The government collected my taxes and left me and my family in peace. But once I helped found True the Vote and King Street Patriots, I found myself a target of this federal government. Shortly after filing IRS forms to establish 501c3 and C4 tax-exempt organizations, an assortment of federal entities, including law enforcement agencies, and Congressman Cummings came knocking at my door. In nearly 2 decades of running our small business, my husband and I never dealt with any government agency outside of filing our annual tax returns. We'd never been audited, we'd never been investigated, but all that changed upon submitting applications for the nonprofit statuses of True the Vote and King Street. Since that filing in 2010, my private businesses, my nonprofit organizations, my family, and I have been subjected to more than 15 instances of audit or inquiry by federal agencies. In 2011, my personal and business tax returns were audited by the Internal Revenue Service, each audit going back for a number of years. In 2012, my business was subjected to inspection by OSHA on a select occasion when neither my husband or I were present, and though the agency wrote that it found nothing serious or significant, it still issued fines in excess of $20,000. In 2012 and again in 2013, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms conducted comprehensive audits at my place of business, and beginning in 2010, the FBI contacted my nonprofit organization on 6 separate occasions wanting to call through membership manifests in conjunction with domestic terrorism cases. They eventually dropped all matters and have now redacted nearly all my files. All of these incursions into my affairs began after filing applications for tax exemption. There is no other remarkable event. There's no other reason to explain how, for decades, I went unnoticed, but now find myself on the receiving end of interagency coordination into and against all facets of my life, both personal and private. Bear in mind, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of this subcommittee, these events were occurring while the IRS was subjecting me to multiple rounds of abusive inquiries with requests to provide every Facebook and Twitter I'd ever posted, questions about my political aspirations, and demands to know the names of groups that I'd spoken with, the content of what I'd said, and everywhere I intended to speak in the coming year. The answers to these sorts of questions are not of interest to the typical IRS analyst, but they are certainly of interest to a political machine that would put its own survival against the civil liberties of a private citizen. This government attacked me because of my political beliefs, but I refuse to be cast as a victim. Not to the IRS, not to the FBI, not to OSHA, not to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or to any other government agency. I am not a victim, because a victim has no options. I do have options, and I intend to use them to the fullest extent of my capabilities. As an American citizen, I am part of a country that still believes in freedom of speech, and so I will continue to speak out. Here in Congress and all across this country, I will continue to press in every legal way possible, as I did by filing suit against the Internal Revenue Service. No American citizen should be willing to accept a government that uses its power against its own people. After all the tyranny and all the things that have been done to my organizations, to my family, and to me, many people would quit, and Mr. Chairman, many Americans have quit. I've heard over and over that people are afraid to tell their stories. But know this, my experience at the hands of this government in the last 5 years have made me more determined ever than before to stand before you and to all of America and say that I will not retreat, I will not surrender, I will not be intimidated, and I will not ask for permission to exercise my constitutional rights. I come before you today, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Americans just like me, asking for a solution to end this ugly chapter of political intimidation. There was a time when people of goodwill were encouraged to participate in the processes of government, not targeted because of it. I applaud your request of the Internal Revenue Service to withdraw a proposed regulation limiting political speech by nonprofit organizations. That action should be taken quickly and without fail, because if it is not, it will effectively codify into law the very thing that brings me here today. If those regulations pass, nonprofit organizations across the country will be destroyed. No American, regardless of their political affiliation, should support the silencing of political speech. Beyond ending the proposed IRS regulations, I ask you, I implore you, as representatives to the people of this great nation, to pass a law that protects all citizens of this country from the increasing use of such abusive practices. Pass a law that exposes government officials who trample on the rights of ordinary citizens. Do not allow them to continue to cower behind a veil of secrecy, abuse, unethical, and unfair behavior. Send the President a bill that makes public, at the option of persons and entities regulated, all communication between government agencies and those they regulate, no restricted, redacted, selectively released files. Give us a truly transparent process. Protect the people. Restore liberty to the people, because we will not be silenced. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman and committee's members.
Thank you, Ms. Engelbrecht.
Another true American, you know what I mean?
What a well-spoken person.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ.
She must have went through hell.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like I said, you've never done that. Nobody's ever audited it. She's trying to do good for the country.
The ATF showing up at her house and
Exactly.
shit.
Well, she must own a bar and a gun shop or something.
Whatever.
Well, that's what they come in for. You know what I mean? The full force of the government.
But like she said, she had never, ever had a problem before.
Right.
Until she applied for the fucking tax-exempt status.
Yeah, and Patriot.
Right, because it was a conservative...
Exactly. The code word came up, Patriot.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. What's her face? Lerner. She was the one that did all that shit.
Right, and pleaded the fifth.
Yeah.
Not who got fired for that? Who got reprimanded? Nobody lost a fucking paycheck.
No, they got their raises and their promotions.
Just like the Clinton administration, the guy that fucked up in Waco and burnt all the kids and the women.
Yeah.
All right. Promoted to fucking head of the CIA, Louis Panetta.
Oh, Panetta.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, that was Janet Reno's fucking handiwork, though.
No, I know, but Leo Panetta was the head of the FBI.
Right, yeah. She was the head of the,
And she was the Attorney General.
Yeah, thank you. And what a fucking monster. What a fucking monster she was. Ruby Ridge. The only thing I ever agreed with that she did was the alien kid going back to Cuba.
Right.
He's like, no, the father wants him back. It's his kid. Well, he's our family now. We're his family now. No. He had one before. Called his father, who's on the island of Cuba, that wants him back. Who the fuck are you? Should they have gone in there the way they did? I don't think they had another choice. With the alien Gonzalez kid.
They didn't have to go in with a SWAT team.
Do you know what? Because they figured if they just did it really fast and just shot the shit out of everyone, nobody was going to pull a gun.
Yeah, somebody had a phone and filmed it all.
Right, yeah. And that's fine, because I don't care. I want the truth to be known on either end of that.
No, it just didn't make sense to go on camera with the SWAT team.
Well, they just wanted to show that they
How old was he?
It wasn't the kid that they were afraid of. It was
the uncle.
They had a whole neighborhood fucking segregated off. These people weren't going to let that.
That's Reno's tactics, though. If they did, like I said, she overdid Waco, overdid Ruby Ridge, and she overdid Alien. Whatever she did,
no.
She did a lot of bad decisions.
Oh, Ruby Ridge and Waco, she totally caused.
Right, and the way she went got Alien, that was wrong.
No, they tried every reasonable. They had a judge say, you got to turn him over. They did everything legal by the book, and they refused. They refused a federal judge's order. When you refuse a federal judge's order, they have a right. If that was your kid, Jim, and you wanted him back, wouldn't you have wanted them to go in and get him?
Yeah, just the way they went in. And local police should have took care of it.
Jimmy, they were making it abundantly clear that they would turn it into a war if they had to.
No, they did. Nobody threatened guns.
Yes.
Did. No, they
did.
Yes,
they
did.
Jim, they said they literally said.
Did they find any guns?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to review the case. But they got the kid back. Nobody got hurt. At a certain point, you have to use force, Jim. And they used it properly.
No, you use force on the people that are stopping you from trying to uphold your duties.
Jimmy, did anyone get hurt during the Ely and Gonzalez
Like
thing?
I said, she went in there with the technical team. There was nothing there.
But it was done. It was resolved.
It was done like a bad decision, just like she did everything else.
Ruby Ridge and Waco, horrible. She should have gone up on charges on that. And serious fucking charges on that. Like the rest of your life.
Did anybody lose a paycheck out of that?
No. It was a disgrace, Jim.
No, I know. Who paid for it when you sued the
ever.
fucking federal government? Who paid for it? We did.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
But yet,
that's how it always goes.
they're still going to do it.
Yeah.
That's why, like I said, I told my sister when Paul McVeigh blew up the fucking building, I goes, he's my hero. She got so bent out of shape. He stopped the FBI and the ATF from doing any more Wacos and Ruby Ridges. That's why he's a hero. And as far as the kids in the daycare center, are they that fucking stupid to put it in the ATF FBI building? They're idiots.
Yeah, you do not.
Because they're targets.
Yeah, don't put your eggs in, where your nest could be blown up. I agree with that. I'm not sure how I feel about Timothy McVeigh. I agree with you that, yeah, he showed the government that we can strike back. And we always got to let the government know we can do that. Best venue? I don't know. Jimmy. I don't know.
Ruby Ridge would have been.
I'd have to be more on your side on that than the other side. I don't like the heavy hand of government. I
just
hate
shooting people for a non-death penalty offense. Just killing them.
Yeah, instead of just shooting them in the leg and stuff.
Whatever, they killed the wife there. Shoot to kill. Oh, she did nothing.
No, I agree. Well, we definitely live in some
That's the Clinton era, and we would have been right back into it.
What they got to do, if they want to stop shoot to kill, the God's honest truth is, they have to take the right to sue away. If you're wielding a knife and a cop shoots you in the leg and stops you, you can't sue him.
You can't sue him now.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
That's why they shoot
you in the back. They can. If they got the right, listen to me. If they got the right to shoot you, they got the right to shoot you. All right, that's just the way it is,
Jimmy. If
they got to stop the shoot to kill order, is what they got to do.
Right, and what they got to do is stop the fact that if you're wielding a weapon and a cop shoots you
then you're at fault.
Right. You still can sue.
No.
Check it out. No,
Google it.
Well, I'm not going to do it on the air.
Because it's stupid.
But that's what I'm saying.
Stupid.
It is stupid.
No, I don't think you can.
Yes, you can.
Not if you're at fault wielding a knife. What jury would convict you?
It's called the
What jury?
No.
Wouldn't convict them.
Not in a criminal case, Jim. In a civil case.
It still don't matter. He's still at fault. He's still at fault.
A civil case has a lower definition of burden.
It's still fucking fault.
Just check it out, please.
No, I ain't checking it out. What am I going to go in the law books?
No, it's easily accessible.
No, it ain't. Why bring up a subject we can't check? Why bring up a subject we can't check?
I'm not going to be here for next week's show, but I'll be here for the week after. I'll look it up. And I'll be totally honest. You know I will, Jim.
Well, yeah, but you're going to get it on fucking social media, which you can't trust.
No. I'll go to government sites. I'll go to all government sites.
All right, it's time we sign out.
All right. Well, do you know what, Jim? I had a great time tonight.
You folks are listening to Armed Radio Global. You can go to Pod Talk on Facebook and give us a like. And we'll catch you next week.
Spreaker.
I was foolish. I was angry. I was fun. I was charming. I was lucky. Tell me how.